question, just like shoot your hand up because I can see you guys. So basically, the individualized educational plans are things that are not things, are plans that the school implements to make sure that they have the necessary supports for your child in place. And we would attend those meetings, make sure that the different therapies are being serviced, that they have the right amount of minutes, and that they're actually following the plan, as well as going to visit your child in school. So to make sure that they're not just sitting in the back of the classroom, everyone's paying attention and integrating them into the discussions and different things like that. And we also go out into the community, and we assist the family with contacting insurance companies, making sure that they have the medical supplies that they need. If there is medical necessity letters that needs to be obtained, we also provide help with that service as well. I know my organization provides grant funding for home modifications. So if you need assistance with that as well, we would help you in navigating that system. So there's a few different types of caseloads that we carry. The first would be SC only, which is basically just supports coordination. The state only requires that we see the family once a year. Each company has different frequencies that they may want you to see. Like my company wants us to see the families every 3 to 4 months, unless the family specifies that they don't want to be seen that often. There is no funding or grant given when there's just SC only. And it's mostly utilized for new clients or clients that already have the waiver. So there's different waivers that we'll go over in a second, but for briefly. But that's what SC only is, basically what we classify them under. The base caseload is basically like the SC only, except with this one, you receive the grant. Same thing, you get, the state requires that we see you yearly, but my company requires us that we see them every 3 to 4 months. Each company does it differently, but like I said, the state requirement is once a year. And this usually end up on a base caseload when the supports coordinator converts the person from SC only to base. And basically what that means is you get access to the grant. And also, just because I don't think I reviewed what the grant is, the grant can help cover with things like respite, family aid, summer camp fees, recreational activities, anything that the insurance doesn't cover, homemaker chores. So if you needed someone to stay with your child or help with I don't know, if bed bug treatment needed to be done, all those things kind of go into the grant money. So these are the 4 different waiver types that we currently have under the ID waiver. The first one is the PFDS. And all of these, you would have to be turning 21 in order to receive the waiver. Well, that's typically what the state wants to see eligibility-wise, because they want the school district to play their part and insurance, all that in one. But for the PFDS, we see them every other month. And the grant, whenever you become waivered, the grant is no longer available because you're receiving money from the state. So then there's a maximum of $33,000 per year in services that you can receive. And you have to follow the different requirements, like there might be redetermination. You have to turn in a physical every year, little things like that, but the supports coordinator will help you navigate that as well as the others. For consolidated, we would monitor services every month. So that basically means we would come out to the home every month or wherever the receiving service is. So day programming, job coaching, employment, anything like that. We would rotate and see the individual at one of those settings. There is no cap as far as funding for the consolidated waiver. And some companies may require different frequencies. So the state only asks every other month. My company, we see them every month. And still their grant is no longer available with this one. For the community living waiver, it's a new waiver. We would see the state, and I believe my company requires every month to be seen. The funding is from $34,000 to $75,000, and the grant is no longer available. And this particular waiver promotes the individual living on their own. So they would have to reside in, whether it's their own apartment or own home, but the staff or whatever, the supports would be in place to ensure that they're living their best lives. Now, the autism waiver is just a different form of a waiver, but it's essentially the same thing as consolidated. It just caters more so to the autistic side. There is no cap as far as funding, and we would go out and see them monthly as well. So the types of plans that we use when we're working with the individuals are individual support plans. And these plans are just living and breathing documents that basically tell us or help us get to know your child or adult. It details like what kind of things your child likes, the type of activities they want to participate in, what different modes of methods they may use to communicate. So if they may tap you and that means that they're hungry, that would be in the plan as well. The different medications they receive and what times, how to give it to them, their medical evaluations, all this information will be contained in the plan, and we wouldn't give out that information unless we receive permission from the parent or guardian. So, when we first meet with the individual, so let's say you're a new client, the first meeting would be to create the shell, quote unquote, for the ISP, which is basically the overviewing information that we gather on the person. And usually these meetings are a little bit longer. It takes 2 to 2.5 hours. But as we go on and make general updates, which is the one that's underneath, and we do this, general updates is the last one. The general updates help us to put more information in and kind of quote unquote beef up what we would like to know about your child. And it helps over time. The more that we go out and get to know your child, the more information we would have, and a stranger coming in would be able to work with your child more efficiently than just never meeting them, never having information. The annual review meetings, which are the ISP updates, that's when all the service providers, so if they receive nursing, if they go to day programming, any type of behavioral supports, anything like that, we would all come together. We would discuss, if he needs more supports, less supports, if we feel like he or she would benefit from a different environment, things like that would be discussed at the annual review meeting. And if you wanted to change providers, all those things could be discussed there. Let me know if I'm going too fast. Anybody have any questions so far?
No, you're good. It's very clear. Thanks.
Cool. All right. So some of the other responsibilities we have, so as I mentioned a little bit earlier, there are behavioral supports that can be in place, whether or not it's a waiver plan or a regular SC plan. We help to make sure that those things are in place to best support your child. So if there are behavioral issues, we can help work with the school to make sure that a behavior specialist is in place. They would help develop plans for the TSS person to work with your child in school, or even help direct you at home, like what would best de-escalate the behaviors or what would best de-escalate the situation or outburst. And behavior specialist supports do provide 24-hour crisis, but they typically will come out for at least an hour or so a week. And we would help with assisting and monitoring those services. So now it's time for the eligibility information. So long as the child or adult is diagnosed with an intellectual disability prior to the age of 22, and they have an IQ score of at least 70 or below, and they have a limitation in at least communication or interpersonal skills, self-care, self-direction, they would be eligible to apply for the services. And typically you would apply, and within 30 days, they would send you a letter of whether you were approved or denied, and they had to explain why you were denied. And you could still appeal the decision. And registering for services is pretty simple, and I did include a little link at the end of the presentation, which I'll send out at the end of this. You can either go into the telephone book, which I'm not too sure how many people still have telephone books, but they said the blue pages, and then there's also, you can contact your county program and they set you up with an appointment. All that information is at the end of the PowerPoint. So the documents that you would need to bring during your appointment, Social Security card, birth certificate, proof of address, and your medical assistance card, which they refer to as Medicaid access card, medical assistance. And they would ask you to sign a consent form to release information, and they would gather more information. So your medical record, or the child's medical records, psychological assessments, anything that pertains to what would help them open a case.